Welcome back to the Building Your Brand podcast, and I am still doing my summer series of solo episodes. We've got 4 more episodes to go, including this one, and today I'm going to be doing a bit of an update on my rejection challenge. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I'm going to share some links in the show notes to other episodes where I've sort of done a deep dive into what the rejection challenge is and how I've approached it, so you can go and listen to those if you're interested. But just sort of a quick summary, basically 3 years ago, I started this challenge where I went out looking for rejection. I was trying to get 100 rejections in 6 months. It's 3 years on and I am still nowhere near that. But I'm going to do a bit of an update today of where I'm up to, how I'm feeling about it all, and all that behind the scenes stuff. Before I launch in, I wanted to share with you something new that I've made. So quite a lot of people have messaged me over the last couple of years saying that they would love to do something like this, but they just don't know what to pitch for. So I've created something for you, which is a digital product where basically every day for 30 days, there's an idea of something that you could pitch for. And some of them are more scary than others. And it gives you like tips and advice and ideas. So if you would like to take part in a rejection challenge, or just pitch for things more with the potential of being rejected, then I will share that in the show notes as well, so you can get your hands on a copy. So let's get started. So I was aiming for 100 rejections, and as I mentioned, I'm still nowhere near that. I've got my rejection chart in front of me over here, and I'm currently at 30 rejections. So I'm still nowhere near 100. I've got another 70 to go. I find having the sticker chart on the wall does motivate me and does remind me to keep going, which is really helpful. I would say that I've probably also had a similar amount. It always, pretty much all the way through, it's been about 50-50. It'll fluctuate every now and then. So I've had about 30 yeses as well, which is amazing. Now, I've talked about this before, but one of the things that really did happen when I started doing this rejection challenge is that opportunities, or more opportunities, started coming my way that I hadn't pitched for. So I think that is one of the reasons that the number is actually really low. I feel like I need to give all the excuses as to why the number's low and why I failed this challenge. But yeah, basically lots of opportunities were coming my way. So podcasts that I'd wanted to be on, asked me. There was opportunities for like public speaking, events, all sorts of things. So I think that is one of the reasons that the number isn't that high. I think the other reason obviously is that a lot of people said yes to stuff. So I've got, 50% yeses. So I've pitched in total for about 60 things, which still is nowhere near 100. But what I did notice was because I was being more visible, I was getting more opportunities, I was then needing to like fulfill the things I'd pitched for. I had to really slow down on what I was pitching. Okay, so I have been feeling a bit recently though that I need a new kickstart to this challenge. Like I need to get going with it again, because one of the things I have noticed that it's easy to sort of like go back into old habits and get complacent with it all. And I am determined, even if it takes me like 10 years, I'm determined to get to those 100 rejections. So I need to start pitching more regularly again. Something else that I was thinking about the other day, and I think probably is also true, is that I think because I have got so used to this idea of asking for things and pitching for things, I don't always register now when something is a pitch or an ask, because it feels less scary and it feels like less of a big deal. Not with everything, but with quite a lot of things, it just feels like a normal everyday thing to do. Oh, I'll just ask this person, if they want to do this or if they want to collaborate in this way. And so I think there is a good chance, a very high chance, that there is a bunch of stuff that I've pitched for and I haven't sort of documented that accurately. So that is something that I'm kind of bearing in mind as I go through this. I mean, there's not really much I can do about that. I just need to sort of really focus on making sure that I document everything that I'm doing. But yeah, I feel re-energized and I'm going to start ramping up the pitching again. Now, obviously, I think I'm going to be more selective about what it is that I pitch for and more strategic about what it is that I pitch for, because as I said, I can only fulfill a certain number of opportunities if people say yes to them. One of the things that I feel quite challenged about is I haven't pitched that much for work partly because that isn't really kind of the model of my business or how it works. You know, like inquiries tend to come to me through my marketing rather than me sort of actively pitching for things. But there are like a few opportunities that I am interested in that I don't think would just, you know, like they wouldn't get in touch with me. So like dream clients. So for example, I love designing patterns. I've talked about that a lot on my social media and in my content. And one of the things that I would love to do is have one of my patterns featured on a product. So there's two sort of particular types of products that spring to mind. I would love them to be on a water bottle. And there is a water bottle company that collaborates with different artists to create sort of, you know, unique like one-off designs. I would also love to have a pattern on a swimming costume. So I want to approach swimming costume companies to see if that's a goer. And then another one, and I'm going to just like come out and say this one. I mean, yeah, it's probably never going to happen, but there's no harm in asking, right? The worst that can happen is I get a no. But one of the things that I would love to do, like dream collaboration, is there's a company called Who Gives a Crap who create toilet paper. We have a subscription of their toilet paper, and it always comes in this amazing paper wrapping that has patterns on. And they have like their standard patterns, but at different times of year. So like Christmas, for example, they will work with a designer or an illustrator, and they'll have like a bespoke, you know, like set of illustrations just for that, you know, like particular event. So Christmas. And I would love to do a collaboration with them. So those are some scary things to pitch for that I haven't done yet. Part of the reason is that it is going to take a bit of more work to like get a very specific portfolio together to share them. But part of it is that I care about it more than other things that I'm pitching for. So I think this is what I'm coming to realize, is that I am still struggling with my fear of rejection. It just looks slightly different these days. So, you know, I am not scared about pitching to be on a podcast or asking a podcast guest to be on my podcast. If like you haven't heard the story, that was the catalyst for it all, was when I asked Christo to be on my podcast and he said no. Go and listen to those podcast episodes I linked, and I talk all about that. And there's even an episode on Christo's podcast where we chatted all about it. So there's a lot of things like that where I feel like I've got less to lose. I think with these work ones, it does feel like I've got more to lose and it's a bit scarier. So I think what I'm realizing is that I still have a lot of work to do with my fear of rejection. And yes, like it's improved so much. And I feel like I've taken, you know, like a few steps up the ladder in terms of courage and being willing to put myself out there and be visible. But there's still a way to go, because I'm still catching myself thinking, oh, I don't want to pitch for that because if they say no, that's it. That's a forever no. And one of the most important lessons I've learned with this whole process is like that is not the right mindset. Nothing is necessarily, well, sometimes it might be a forever no. And even if it is, like, that's okay. It just wasn't for me. Like, there's no point like not pitching just in case you get that forever no. But I, you know, like that is the sort of mindset shift you have to make, right? Because if I don't pitch for it, then there's always this hope or this possibility or this opportunity that it might still happen. Whereas it feels like if I pitch for it and they say no, then, you know, that's the end of the story and I have to deal with that disappointment. And I just have to really trust that I will be able to deal with that disappointment and I will move on to another goal and another dream. And that, you know, that wasn't for me and that's totally fine. And so I'm having to remind myself of all of these lessons that I've shared with other people, because I'm realizing that in particular instances, like I'm still feeling all of those things. And I've always been really like open with this whole process that I don't think this challenge or, you know, this concept of doing a rejection challenge ever like cures you of your fear of rejection completely. But I think what it does do is get you more comfortable with discomfort, and it gets you better at getting over that fear quicker, getting over the disappointment quicker, moving on quicker, which are all really helpful when it comes to running a business and moving forward and, you know, pushing yourself a bit. So yeah, I just have to like keep reminding myself that this is a journey that I'm always on. I'm not gonna be suddenly cured of a fear of rejection. It's just gonna be a fear about different things. So yeah, the next sort of fear of rejection aspect of my business that I am going to try and work on is specifically pitching for work. But I am still going to do the other stuff as well. So there's a few new to me podcasts that I'd love to pitch on. I mean, I'm always pitching guests to be on my podcast. So I want to have a think about like who are those dream guests that I would absolutely love to have on. I've actually got a couple of recordings coming up soon when we come back to the interview, sort of more traditional interview style of this podcast, which will be starting again at the beginning of October. So I'm excited to share those with you. But yeah, so on the whole, I'm feeling really good about it. I feel like I need a bit of a kick up the butt to get the momentum going again. It was actually really helpful putting together this digital product that I put together for people to help them with their rejection challenges, because it just reminded me all of the different things that I could do. Like I would love to do more collaborative stuff with other creatives. I'd love to, like maybe write some articles for design publications. So yeah, there's lots of potential opportunities that I would like to work towards and will potentially get rejected for. So that is where I'm at. So the stats are 30 rejections, still pretty low, 70 to go. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep documenting it. And I'm going to keep sharing about the rejection challenge, because ultimately I think the thing that is so beautiful about it is rejection is something that we all go through. And I don't know about other people, but I find it really easy to start telling myself a story that this is only happening to me. I'm the only one getting rejected. No one else is experiencing this. And that's not a good place. That's not a healthy mindset to be in. And the more I've accepted that rejection is just a really beautiful part of the creative process, and it's a necessary part of the creative process, the easier it is to deal with. And I just keep reminding myself, everybody is going through this. Like every single person will have been rejected in some way, shape, or form when it comes to their work, when it comes to their creativity. And often the most sort of like prolific, most famous creatives and business owners have been rejected so much. Like there's just so many inspiring stories out there. So I really encourage you all, if you are doing a rejection challenge, if you are interested in this sort of topic, share those rejections, because I know you might think it looks bad and maybe clients will think negatively, but honestly, I just don't think they will, because it's a really normal part of running a business and being a creative. So I hope you've enjoyed this little update. I will be back with another episode next week. And thank you so much for the positive feedback about these solo episodes. I've really been enjoying doing them. I feel like I've finally got into my groove with them after having to get used to this kind of format at the beginning. And if you are doing a rejection challenge and you need someone to cheer you on, I would love to hear from you. As always, I'd love to connect on social media. So you can find me at Liz M. Mosley or at Building Your Brand Podcast on Instagram.